For over a century, Japan was consumed by the fires of civil war. As old samurai codes crumbled, a new legend emerged from the ashes of Owari. Oda Nobunaga, once dismissed as the fool of Owari, would soon prove to be the man who would redefine the art of war through fire and iron. In this era of chaos, power belonged only to those with the vision to see beyond the blade and the courage to break the traditions of centuries. His motto was Tenkafubu, the empire under one sword. It was a promise to unite a shattered nation through sheer military dominance and innovation. The stage was set for a transformation that would change Japan forever. Nobunaga was not just a lord, he was a revolutionary of the battlefield. From the small province of Owari, the tiger began to roar, signaling the end of the old world and the birth of a unified military state. In 1560, the mighty Imagawa Yoshimoto marched with 25,000 men to crush Nobunaga, who stood with only 2,000 soldiers at his side. While the Imagawa celebrated their easy progress, a violent thunderstorm began to brew, masking the sounds of a desperate gamble unfolding in the shadows. Instead of defending his castle, Nobunaga chose to attack. Under the cover of the torrential rain, he led a swift strike force through the mountains. The surprise was total. The Oda forces descended like a lightning bolt from the hills, catching the overconfident Imagawa lords completely off their guard. Amidst the chaos and the rain, the order of the battlefield dissolved. The superior numbers of the Imagawa became a liability in the narrow valley. In one decisive moment, Imagawa was killed. The giant had fallen, and the name of Oda Nobunaga echoed across Japan as a master of strategy. Okehazama was the earthquake that shook the foundation of the Sengoku period, proving that genius and speed could overcome even the greatest numbers. The world now knew his name. Nobunaga had stepped into the light, and he was ready to sweep away the traditions of the past. While traditional samurai viewed firearms as cowardly weapons, Nobunaga saw the future. He embraced the Tanegashima matchlock as his primary instrument of conquest. He understood that a farmer with a gun could defeat a lifelong swordsman. This realization would lead to a total revolution in Japanese military structure. Nobunaga transformed his army into a professional force. He drilled his peasant soldiers in complex maneuvers, turning raw recruits into a lethal firing line. He industrialized war. By establishing massive weapon workshops, he ensured his troops were always equipped with the latest and most reliable firearms available. The era of individual heroics was fading. Nobunaga was building a machine of war, where discipline and massed firepower would reign supreme. He was a visionary who prioritized efficiency over honor. To him, the battlefield was a logic puzzle, and gunpowder was the ultimate solution. With his new arsenal ready, Nobunaga prepared to face the most legendary warriors of the age in a test of fire versus tradition. In 1575 at Nagashino, Nobunaga prepared a trap. He built 3 layers of wooden palisades to negate the speed of the legendary Takeda cavalry. The Takeda clan possessed the most feared kyujutsu and cavalry in Japan. They believed no fence could stop their overwhelming, thundering momentum. But Nobunaga had a secret: the 3-line volley. By rotating his 3,000 musketeers, he could maintain a continuous, unstoppable wall of lead. With a roar of defiance, the Takeda cavalry charged. They rode straight into the mouth of a mechanical beast they did not yet understand. The ground shook as the finest warriors of the old era raced toward what they thought would be a glorious victory over mere peasants. Then the first line fired. A thunderous roar erupted from the Oda palisades, and the front rank of the Takeda vanished in a cloud of smoke. The cavalry slowed, but the second line of Oda musketeers was already in place. Before the survivors could react, another volley tore through them. The legendary invincible cavalry was being slaughtered. There was no gap in the fire, no moment of respite for the charging warriors. Continuous volley fire, a tactic ahead of its time. Nobunaga had turned the battlefield into a factory of death where bravery was no match for physics. By the end of the day, the Takeda clan was broken. Nagashino signaled the end of the samurai as the world had known them for centuries. A total war had arrived in Japan. Nobunaga had proved that the future belonged to those who could master technology and mass organization. With his enemies defeated, Nobunaga built Azuchi Castle, a symbol of his absolute power and the center of his new unified world. He controlled the capital, Kyoto, and held the strings of the nation. The dream of a unified Japan was finally within his reach. But the greatest threat was not an enemy lord, but the shadows within his own ranks. Akechi Mitsuhide, his trusted general, prepared for betrayal. In June 1582, while resting at Honno-ji temple with only a small guard, Nobunaga found himself surrounded by his own treacherous troops. The temple was set ablaze. There was no escape. Mitsuhide's forces closed in as the architecture of the dream began to burn. Facing certain death, Nobunaga Sowasa performed seppuku amidst the roaring fire, a genius of war consumed by the very flames he used to unite Japan. While he died before seeing his dream completed, but the foundations he laid were too strong to be destroyed by any single act of betrayal. His successors, Hideyoshi and Ieyasu, would take the torch from his ashes. They would use his methods to finish the work of unification. The era of 100 years of civil war was over. A new, peaceful Japan was born from the blood and fire of the Sengoku period. The peace that followed lasted for over 200 years, a testament to the stability of the system Nobunaga helped create. Oda Nobunaga remains one of history's most polarizing figures, a destroyer of the old world and the architect of the new. He was the man who broke the chains of history, using his vision to build a foundation that would lead Japan into the modern age. Oda Nobunaga, the military genius who dared to imagine a unified Japan, and the warrior who paved the way with fire and iron.